Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. Welcome to the Juice Radio Talk Show. Reality TV's church reviews. Let's talk happy love and marriage lifestyle. Come and talk with us. Come and share with us. Come and laugh with us. Come on and pray with us.
Regina Clovis, special guest. You should be following your lead. Bless. Subscribe on YouTube. Listen on podcasts. We live on IG and Facebook. This episode is sponsored by TruthAndTriumph Ministries.
Everyone, happy Monday, and it is Money Monday. This is time for your lunchtime learning. I'm Executive Pastor Tawana Grant, and I am so excited that you are joining us today to continue to enable ourselves as we move forward as entrepreneurs, as we're innovators, as we're ministry leaders. It's so important that we understand our economic climate, and so we are continuing in our new series, Play to Win, offensive and defensive money moves. And so we want to encourage you here on the Juice Radio and Talk Show as we continue our Money Monday series. So go ahead right now, go on to YouTube, go on to Facebook, like and share. Make sure that you're sharing this information so that others can glean as well. And so we are just excited about today's episode. We're going to be talking about protecting your cash flow and your credit. This is so important. We've talked about it in previous sessions. I'm breaking it down about how to create cash flow. And we've also talked about credit. But today we're talking about some offensive and defensive moves with your money. Why? Because fortress finance is crucial in today's volatile market. And so we want to make sure that we set an understanding that you also have to play both a defensive and an opportunistic move. And so we want to make sure that we are looking at it from both spectrums so that you can prepare for what's coming next, right? A prepared people is a ready people. And so we don't want to get ready. We want to stay ready, okay? So we want to stay ready. Thank you, Ollie. Thank you for joining us today. And so as we talk about it again, we want to talk about the fortress finance. How do we fortify and protect our cash flow and our credit? You have to protect your credit. A lot of times we don't think about it, but the decisions that we're making every day influences our cash flow and our credit. And so as we're making those kind of decisions, as you're looking about what you should do moving forward, you want to always have that as your guardrails. You have to think about it. Guardrails are protection. And so it's not punishment. I want to encourage you in that. When you set a budget, it's not punishment, it's protection. And so when you set guardrails on your mind, guardrails on your money, it's protecting what your investment is so that you protect it, not punishment. So you want to make sure that you're using what you have very wisely. And so a defensive strategy in building the fortress, one, of course, it's cash flow buffers. That's what we talked about before. You want to make sure that you have those borders, those buffers, those boundaries that can help you also not just get funding, but retain it and then expand with it. And so what do you want to do for cash flow buffers? Again, this is importance of multi-layered buffering, meaning operating cash, emergency reserves, investment liquidity. These are the things that you're looking at where you are in your finances so that you can buffer your cash flow. So that as things happen, as the market change, as you see instruments are having fluctuation in the marketplace, you have buffers, you have multi-stream so that you have layering. You're not single-threaded. You don't have everything in one place, therefore jeopardizing what you have. So the dynamic expense triggers. How to create an if-then scenario. These are some of the things that you need to talk about. Cutting discretionary spending, looking at if revenue drops. So how do I do some if-then scenarios? Don't just think from the happy place, because we all think there, right? We pray for the best and we prepare for the worst. And so we want to be strategic leaders. We want to be ones that have dynamic understanding about what's happening in our field. So we talked about that before, making sure that you understand your industry, what's happening in your industry. You don't want to be so broad that the only information you have is what in your purview, what do you have right immediately in front of you. You want to have so limited rather that's all you have. You want to be broad in spectrum so that you understand all the key triggers and how they relate to what you do, how they relate to your clients, not just you as an organization, but also your clients who are going to use your services. So if you are an entrepreneur and you provide a product, you want to understand how is that product being made available in the marketplace. How are the clients or potential clients looking at that for this particular season? Is it something that they consider as a need, or is it a luxury? And so those are the things that you want to start considering when you do your if-then scenarios. If this happened, then I need to do this. If this were to occur, then I need to make this kind of move. That's what you do as a strategic manager, as a strategic leader, a strategic business owner, a strategic ministry leader. You're not thinking tomorrow. Oh my goodness, we got to get further than that. You're thinking years down the line. You're thinking decades. That's how I'm thinking in decades. I was just talking to somebody just yesterday. I am looking at decades ahead. What do I need to do to level set myself so that I am ready for my next decade? And so that's the kind of if-then scenario we need to be thinking, not short-term all the time. There, of course, are short-term gains. You need to think about, what am I doing in short-term? But you've got to have a long-term game. If you're going to journey in the process of ownership, even in your family, if you don't own a business yet and you're just managing your family business or your home base, that is still strategic thinking. You need to know, how do I move my family from where we are now to where I know God has intended us to be? It is still an element of strategic thinking. If this happened, if something happens with our jobs, if something happens in our health, if something happens with our children or schools, what do I do then what do I do? Right? So these are the kind of conversations that you want to be having with your partner, with your wife, your husband, with those who are in partnership with you, with your stakeholders, with your board, with your team. Having that kind of dialogue helps people be prepared so that everything doesn't appear to be an emergency. So that when things do happen, you don't feel that you are so shaken. No, I'm not that shaken because I've already prepared. I'm not that shaken. I'm not that moved because I understand what's happening in the marketplace. And I've already taken an assessment of what I need to do if it does happen. And the next thing you want to do is risk adjustment on your insurance coverage. Again, risk adjustment on your insurance coverage. So make sure that if there's a business interruption, or if there's some cyber insurance or other things that you need to take out now, based on your type of industry or field that you're operating in. Are there some key things that you need to ask your broker, your insurance broker, to avoid overpaying? Is there an opportunity now for me to go back and revisit some of those things that I've set in place? Some of us need O&O insurance, omissions insurance. If something happens, you make a mistake, you want to make sure that you're covered. We have that on some of our businesses. We have bonds on some of our businesses. So you want to make sure that you're looking at, how do I protect? Again, we're on the defensive strategy right now. How do I protect my business from what could happen, what is most likely, some of the things that are necessary, some of them based on the type of business that you're in. There are certain assurances that you should have. Why? Because it is a natural course of doing business. I know that there are times in ministry, in our business, where we may not be able to procure a lot of insurance in certain areas, but having awareness of what you need and getting the minimal in place will also help mitigate your risk if you do have an incident. If it does occur, maybe it can help mitigate some of the risk level. You may not be able to maximize it out. I know some people are like, I want to get $1 million policy. I want to get $5 million. Maybe you can't do that the first go round. That's why we're saying go back and readjust. Sometimes you might need to get it where you are at this particular time. You might need to get an amount that you can afford without significant harm to your operating expenses. And then as your business grows, then as you're able to mature in the organization, then you can add on. This is one of those things that you continually review. You also, as I just mentioned, go back to your broker to see, are there opportunities to have the same amount of coverage, but at a lower price? And so we don't want to be so stagnant in what we've already set and locked that we never go back and peruse and make sure that we are doing it at our best, that we're evaluating, that we're getting the best price for where you are now. Sometimes when you first open your business, I'm a witness, when you first open your business, some things are more expensive because you don't have a history. They don't know you. They don't know if you're going to win or lose. But we know we're going to win, right? And so when we're doing that, we may have had to pay a higher cost. You might have a higher interest rate. You might have a higher cost relative to where you are in the business. Maybe you've had some incidents that were more recent. So when you went to get your insurance or you went to get your policy, you were subject to what had recently occurred. But now that you've had some tenure, now that you've had some time in between whatever that last incident and you are now, this is the time to go back and peruse and see if this is worthwhile for you to go back and then assess for a lower fee. Let's make sure that we do that, because that will help us on the defense. These are some defensive moves that we can take. Here's some on the offense. Here's some of the things that we can take for the offense. Expand without delusion. How can I expand without getting rid of something? How can I expand my business without it costing me significantly? One of the ways is business credit. You build up your business credit. And that's one of the things that is so important, because you don't want to always be using your cash, your reserves, everything you have. You want a smart use of business credit lines. I want to say this: smart use of business credit lines, even if you don't need them yet. This is what we're talking about. Forward thinking, visionary leadership. Where are you going in 2 years? Where are you going in 5 years? Where are you going in 10 years? A visionary leader is looking ahead. I might not need it right now, but while it is still available, while I am in good standing as far as my relative business, and I can put a business plan in front of someone, I can put my business numbers, my financials in front of someone, and I am looking good and healthy, this may be the appropriate time for you to consider business credit. You are in alignment with where you need to be as far as the organization, with where you are in your finances. And this is a good time for those who are looking to expand in their business lines of credit, so that they can extend it to you even if you don't need it. And this is where it also comes in to have diligence and discipline. You have to have discipline. If you're going to be a visionary leader, whether it is in entrepreneurship, business ownership, or in ministry, you must have a level of financial discipline. Meaning, just because I have it don't mean I need to spend it. So if you're that kind of leader and you haven't gotten to that place yet, you have to weigh that. Is it a risk for you to open that credit and you know you have difficulty holding on to things until they are necessary? Is that going to cause you damage to your reputation, damage to your credit line? So you have to weigh that, because I want to be very clear on that. You have to have a level of discipline when you're doing things for the future. That means I'm setting the stage. I do this all the time. I'm setting the stage for where I'm going, not where I am. Oh my goodness, that's good. I'm setting the stage for where I'm going, not where I am. And so if I'm attributing things, if I'm gleaning things, if I'm getting things in order for where I'm going, and it's not a necessity for where I am, I'm going to hold it in my reserves. I'm going to prepare it so that when the time is right, it's ready. I don't have to get ready. I've been getting ready all along. And so when success is called, when preparation meets opportunity. So when my opportunity comes up, because I have been preparing, because I have been working, because I have been toiling, because I have been strategizing, because I have been occupying until it comes, I'm ready. And so one of the smart things to do on the offensive is to expand without diluting. Get ready for expansion. Get ready to enlarge your tent. Get ready to go forward. But you'll need to do that in a disciplined manner. The next, rewards of financing, based financing, rewards-based financing is how to fund growth using cashback cards. So there's a way you can do that. You can grow it with cashback. Supplier financing. So there are ways that you can get some financing even through your suppliers, that you can have in a line of credit so that you don't have to pay immediate. You still have use of your operating expense, and you pay maybe 30, 60, 90-day terms, whatever those terms are that you set up with your suppliers, so that you can do that supplier funding and financing for you to grow your business. Say you want to iteratively add, I want to iteratively grow, I want to put a little bit more products out there than I have before. And so can you operate in that capacity to have a supplier financing so that I can expand my business without having to carry the cost immediately? The next thing that you can do is look at loyalty rewards programs. So sometimes some of your suppliers, some of your credit cards, they offer loyalty rewards program. How many, like me, I've had to go back through and look at credit cards and see what benefits I have. Some of us have benefits from our corporate credit cards that we already have that perhaps you haven't leveraged. Some because we didn't know, some because we didn't need it at that time. But now is the time. Now, go back and peruse them. Go back and look where there are available benefits that could help you financially and help your business. How can I now leverage those businesses benefits? Some benefits have where you can have travel benefits, where you can use certain other vendors. Say, for instance, some of your office supply vendor, some of the vendors for carrying, courier services. So there's some benefits, loyalty benefits that you can leverage to reduce some of your costs, but you've got to go back and play on the office to look at them and see where you can gain value. Where do I gain value from those? So you want to look at, as you are looking at those particular levers that you can pull, those different levers that you can use, you want to make sure that you're looking at your key metrics during this time, right? You want to look at credit utilization ratio, because this influences your credit rating. How high are my credit? How high have I gone to my balance, my limit rather? You want to make sure that your balance is much significantly lower than your limit. So credit ratio utilization, because 30% isn't enough if you're trying to scale, right? If you're trying to scale. So you want to make sure that you're operating from that capacity so that you understand what is available to you and that you're leveraging it without damaging or harming where you're going. You want to make sure that you're not harming the threading that you're doing throughout your organization to advance and go forward. I love to say the word threading, because everything we do is threading through our organization. Every decision we make as a leader, every decision that we make as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, as a ministry leader, every decision we make gets threaded through the organization. And so there are repeatable advancement that we can make because we are now moving forward with the vision, and then we're gaining the collaboration of your whole team. Everybody moving forward gives the vision momentum and gives the vision advancement. And so we're consistently want to be moving forward in our organization. So you're going to be looking at some of those things. And so I want to talk about thriving tasks, some things that we can put into action so that we thrive in being on the offensive and the defensive. So a rolling 13-week cash flow forecast. We want to talk about 13 weeks. You want to look out at least 13 weeks and look at your quarterly and your buffer. How much am I spending and how much am I able to put in my buffer? The basics of setting up one, you can use the basic tools. You can use Google Sheets. You can use Float. You can use Pulse. So there are a lot of different type of applications we talked about before. Use your technology. Let it do the work for you and minimize what you have to do manually. Try and let the system work for you as much as you can because it gives you quick reporting. It gives you statistics. You have the data. That's what we're trying to get to. Not doing things off of our feelings. We are in the discipleship class teaching about emotional wholeness. You don't want to do things off of your feelings. You want to do things off of data. When you're leading an organization, data, wisdom, discernment, clarity. You want to use those things so that you can move forward. And so you want to identify your credit gaps. Where do you have credit gaps? So look at your personal guarantees, your limits, renewal timelines. Look at where you need to renew. Sometimes we end up having to pay more because we renew so late in the game, so that we're stuck in what we have always been doing. Take an opportunity with some of the contracts that we have, with some of the partnerships we have, to look at your renewal in advance. Again, set a better deal. Look at getting a better deal with your suppliers, with your partners, your stakeholders, those that you leverage in the whole end-to-end structure of your business. How can I gain? How can it be a win-win? And I'm not necessarily saying you always winning on top, but how can it be a dual win? So that we collaborate, so that we keep the relationship, but we're both are doing well, right? So also utilization of your rates, interest rates, where you want to be making sure that you are aware. Sometimes I've had conversations with people, they had no idea what the interest rates were on the cars. And so these are some of the things as a leader, we need to just sit down. I know. It takes time. I know it does. Trust me, because I do it in so many lanes of my life. It takes a lot of time to get things in order. But when you do, it works more efficiently. And also, it doesn't just have to be you. I am blessed that I have others who operate in the executive administrative place, and they're able to do a lot of those things without me. I'm so blessed, and so can you. If you have a team of those who have a trusted behavior, who are disciplined in their ownership, that they look at it as if they are doing it for themselves, not that, do it to the capacity of excellence. That is their business, right? On your behalf, that they understand their fiduciary role and they want to operate with integrity. They want to operate with transparency. They want to operate with intelligence. And they also want to do it collaboratively. These are some areas where you can share, where others can help come in and to help you. We want to make sure that you don't feel as if you're having to do everything yourself. That's one of the reasons why we don't get started. Can we talk about that now? Real quick. Some of the reasons that we don't get started is because we look at the work that it's going to take to do it, and we already cancel ourselves out. One, because we don't want to do it. We feel like it is overbearing and it's burdensome. but you got to think about where you're going. And so we want to use our SMART goals again. Make it specific, measurable, achievable. That's really what I want to say. Achievable. Don't make it so huge. Say, this week I'm going to do 1,000 things. And then you probably won't get to do anything because in your spirit, you'll start to feel overwhelmed. You want to chunk it up in realistic goals, achievable goals that you can do a little bit every day. Give yourself 30 minutes in your business. If you're like me and you're working in other vocations, you have multiple vocation lines, I can't do everything every day all day. So you have to pick your days and your times when you work on each one so that everything is making forward progress. You cannot keep your hands off of it and then expect something great to happen with it. You have got to be available. You've got to be attentive. You have to be a steward. What is a steward? You are guiding it forward. Steward, responsible, accountable. And so you have not only the responsibility, and so everybody likes to parade when everything is doing great. You also have to have the accountability when it's not. And so you have to make sure that you're operating from that capacity in all of your lanes, that you're also offensive and defensive, that you're also being a taskmaster, meaning you are delegating out to others who can do it sufficiently and effectively in the level of execution that you would like to see it done. But you never do so much and be so far away that you don't know what's going on. So you cannot expect what you don't inspect. I've seen that lately in a few lanes of my life because I was putting more attention in one thing. And so that means the others had to just journey along. And so as they journey along, there are some things that I probably would have did a little bit different, but I have to make sure that it's still getting done. So it's getting done. When you're a leader, that's the other thing you have to level set is that there's more than one way to do different things. And so you have to be able to allow others to expand and to grow in the areas that they are growing in. And then trust with your help, with your stewardship, with your mentorship, with your guidance, that they will steward well and continue to evolve and to continue to become better in that. And so that's what we have to do, even when we're identifying gaps in our organization. When you're identifying gaps in how things are working, you refine it and you move forward. Oh, wonderful. So the last thing I really want to talk about today is talking about some of the things that we do with negotiating tools, right? We've talked about we need to go back and negotiate. I really want to encourage you, if you're a business owner, a leader, ministry leader, get comfortable in having uncomfortable conversations. Get comfortable. It is not always going to feel comfort. You cannot grow in comfort. If you want to grow, you have to be able to expand. And when you are growing, there's tension. When you're growing, there's a pull and a push. When you're growing, sometimes it feels like there's a war going on. Why? Because you don't fit where you are and you don't fit where you're going. There's that shedding and that threading of things taking you to the next level. And so you have to get comfortable in being able to negotiate while you're even making negotiation with your partners, while you're even negotiating within your teams, while you're negotiating even within your family. Sometimes you got to be okay to have those hard conversations so that you get to an understanding. How can you go forward when things are not the way you know they should be and you say nothing? We are responsible for having the conversations. And so as we talk about growing in this climate, growing in this season, there's a lot of things that are happening in the marketplace that can appear to be difficult. They are. But what you have to do is have the open dialogue, the transparency to say, listen, I've got to make some tough decisions. I have to do this all the time. I have to make tough decisions in the businesses that we own. I have to make tough decisions in the marketplace, in the corporate world where I work, difficult decisions in ministry. You have to have those kind of conversations and understand that you're still responsible for making decisions. And so with that, you got to get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, right? And so you do that with knowledge and wisdom, discernment, revelation, understanding, getting information, and having data. When you have data, when you have history, when you have information, it can help you move the work forward. It can help you do things forward. And so we want to encourage you in that. Build your negotiating skills. Build your communicating skills. A lot of the work as a leader is communicating. We are giving instructions to others to carry out the mission. And so if you have difficulty in communicating, you will always see that there's a disparity between what is given to you and what you thought you would get. If you have difficulty in explaining in detail procedures or processes or understanding, then this is an area that you need to work on as a leader, because we're going to play the offenses and defenses. And sometimes you're going to have to make a quick switch. You got to make a quick switch. You got to make a quick pivot. And sometimes people may say, well, you told us 2 months ago to stay on this. Yes, but that was based on the relative data of 2 months ago. I have new information. I have new insights. I have new data. And the new data tells me we need to be able to pivot and move and shift this way. And so I want to encourage you that as you talk with your teams, if you have discussions, even internally, some of you may be like how I was. I like when it was running well, just to keep it just like that, status quo. But status quo won't get you where you're going. Status quo won't get you to your future. Status quo won't grow you. You've got to look at where am I going and what does it take to get there. And so we want to encourage you in that you build and cultivate and grow your negotiating and communication skills, because this will serve you well in uncertain times. This will serve you well as you make major decisions. This will serve you well as you glean information from others. This is going to help you ask those questions that, you know how you can be in the audience and having a conversation with people, and then you think of something, you're like, oh, I don't want to ask that because that might cause some consternation. You can ask it in such a way as you learn your negotiating skills, as you cultivate communication. You can ask it in such a way that it is clear that you're seeking information. You're not seeking to damage. You're seeking information. I'm not seeking to hinder. I'm not seeking to make you look bad. I'm trying to make sure that we have all the information necessary to make the best decision. And you'll learn how to ask it in such a way that it doesn't cause damage. Sometimes it might cause some hurt feelings. I'm going to be honest with you. When you have open, transparent communication, it may cause for hurt feelings. But when you are expressing it in a way that is taking your mission forward, in a way that's taking a vision forward, then others can digest the information and they can go through the process of moving forward. Sometimes there's a grief in letting go of what used to be. Can I say that? Even in visionaries, there's a grief of saying, okay, I thought I was going to be doing this. I'm with you. Can I raise my hand? There have been times when I said, I thought I would be past this right now. I thought we'd be on the other side by now. I thought we would have been through this by now. But there's a time when you have to say, okay, I'm going to trust in the Lord. I'm going to trust that his timing is sure. I'm going to trust that as long as I remain in the boat, I'm going to make it to safety. And so sometimes as long as you remain on vision and on purpose, you can know that you're going to make it to your expected end, and not always aligned to the task or the activity, right? Or the process. We have to be able to grieve the process. The process may need to change, but as long as the vision and ministry and purpose remains solidified, amen, then you can move forward. And so sometimes even in our negotiating, we have to learn how to settle ourselves in that. And so that's one of the main things as a ministry leader, as an innovator, as a visionary entrepreneur. We have to level set within us first and then to others. And then lastly, don't forget small business lending updates, right? There's some new SBA programs, so make sure you're checking those out. FinTech trends, where is it that FinTechs are providing money to small businesses to capitalize them, to give you what you need to go to the next level. AI underwriting risk, very quick to understand about AI underwriting risk. What are some risks as they go through underwriting? What are those key things that they're looking for when they look for you as you're submitting in for your loans or for your lending or for new negotiating tactics? What are they looking for? Because this is the thing. When you know what they're looking for, you can better level set your documentation and information so that it is a swifter process, that you are quicker to a yes than it would be to have all the iterations without you understanding what is necessary, what is needed, what are they looking for. Sometimes I love having coffee connections. I have these things that are called Let Us Catch Up. And I'll put that on the calendar because I want to get information. So sometimes before you go, I've told people that I mentor, date the space. Before you decide if that's where you want to go in the division, go out with some people who are already over there. Go have coffee. Go have lunch, date the space, find out what's happening so that you know what you're getting yourself into. And so even as a business leader, ministry leader, an innovator, innovation, you want to make sure that you understand the purview of where you're going to next. what is expected, what is happening, so that you can level set yourself to win. All right. So today we're talking about playing to win. We're playing to win. So we're going to play on offensive and defensive so that we can make the right money moves. I'm Executive Pastor Tawana Grant. Today is Money Monday. We're so excited that you join us today for your lunchtime learning. If you're watching us right now live, if you catch us on the replay, we extend our appreciation and want to encourage you to join us every Monday at 12 noon. This is Money Monday on the Juice Radio and Network, Juice Radio TV and Network. And so we welcome you again. Peace and blessings. Thank you.